What if I told you that the single most powerful thing you could do for your body today costs nothing, requires no equipment, and can be done by almost anyone, anywhere, at any time? And what if the reason it works is not what you've been told, not calories burned, not steps counted, but something happening deep inside your cells in a process so precise and intelligent that most doctors never explain it to you? Here's the truth that changes everything. The moment you stand up and start walking, a cascade of molecular events begins inside your body that most people will never know about. It's not magic, it's not a trend, it's biology. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a 30-minute walk the same way again. Most people think fat cells are just storage blobs, passive little pouches that swell up when you overeat and shrink when you diet. That mental image is wrong. And that misunderstanding is exactly why so many people feel frustrated with their bodies. Your fat cells are not passive. They are not dumb. They are living, active, communicating structures that behave more like intelligent warehouses than simple storage containers. In fact, scientists classify fat tissue as an endocrine organ, meaning your fat cells produce hormones, send signals to your brain, respond to changes in your body, and actively participate in regulating your health. Understanding this one shift in perspective changes everything about how you approach movement and metabolism. Your body contains somewhere between 30 and 40 billion fat cells. Inside each one, fat is stored in a form called triglycerides, tightly bonded molecules made of fatty acids that can't just float out freely on their own. To release that stored energy, your body has to break those bonds through a specific biological process called lipolysis, which literally means the breaking down of fat. And here's the critical part. This process doesn't happen randomly or automatically. It requires very specific hormonal signals, the right enzymes, and the right internal environment to trigger it. Without those signals, those 30 billion cells just sit there, holding on. But when you start walking, you send exactly the right signals to unlock them. Here's something your body does that most people don't appreciate. Your fat cells aren't your enemy. They've actually been protecting you this whole time. When you eat more than your body immediately needs, your fat cells expand to store that excess energy as triglycerides, keeping excess fats from circulating dangerously in your bloodstream and damaging your organs. It is genuinely a protective mechanism, an act of biological care. The problem only begins when those cells get stretched too far, when they're consistently overfilled and overwhelmed. At that point, they start sending out distress signals in the form of inflammatory molecules, and that's when insulin resistance, cardiovascular dysfunction, and metabolic disorders can take hold. Your fat cells don't want that outcome any more than you do. They're just waiting for the right instructions. Now, let's walk through exactly what happens minute by minute when you lace up your shoes and head out the door. In the first 5 minutes, your body isn't diving into fat stores yet. During these opening minutes, you're running primarily on glucose, the sugar readily available in your bloodstream and stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver. But something critically important is already beginning beneath the surface. Your nervous system is waking up. Your heart rate is climbing. Blood flow is accelerating throughout your body, and most importantly, your body begins producing adrenaline and noradrenaline, hormones that in this context are working entirely in your favor. These molecules travel through your bloodstream like messengers on a mission, heading straight for your fat cells. When adrenaline reaches a fat cell and binds to the receptors on its surface, something remarkable happens. It's like turning a key in a very specific lock. This binding activates an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, or HSL, and this enzyme is the true gatekeeper of fat release. Its entire job is to begin breaking apart those tightly bound triglycerides inside the fat cell, splitting them into free fatty acids and glycerol, molecules small enough to slip through the cell membrane and escape into your bloodstream. But this process needs time to ramp up fully.
Think of it like starting a cold engine on a winter morning. It runs rough at first, needs a few minutes before it's really humming. At the same time, your muscles are gently pulling glucose from your blood. Your insulin levels begin to dip slightly, and that drop in insulin sends yet another signal to your fat cells. It's okay to start letting go. By the time you've been walking for about 10 minutes, the real shift begins. Your fat cells have fully activated lipolysis. Triglycerides are breaking down at a meaningful rate. Free fatty acids are now escaping into your bloodstream, and something else is happening simultaneously that makes this whole process so efficient. Walking increases blood flow to your fat tissue itself. Think about that for a moment. Your body is not just breaking the fat free, it's also opening up the delivery routes so those fatty acids can actually travel where they're needed. Studies confirm that during moderate exercise, blood flow to fat tissue increases significantly, making it physically easier for fatty acids to leave the fat cells and reach your working muscles. Without that increased circulation, the freed fatty acids would have no fast pathway to get where they need to go. Your muscles, meanwhile, are making a critical fuel shift. In the first few minutes, they were burning mostly glucose for quick energy. But now, as free fatty acids begin arriving in larger quantities, your muscle cells start taking them up and routing them into tiny structures called mitochondria. The mitochondria are where the real transformation happens. They take those fatty acids and, through a process called beta oxidation, convert them into ATP, the universal energy currency your body runs on. Every movement you make, every step forward is now being powered increasingly by the very fat you've been trying to get rid of. Your body isn't fighting you here. It's cooperating with you completely, doing exactly what it was designed to do when given consistent, moderate movement as a cue. Here is where most people make their biggest mistake. They stop too early. They walk for 10 or 12 minutes, feel fine, and call it done. But by stopping there, they miss the most powerful metabolic window of the entire walk. By the time you hit the 15 to 20-minute mark, your body has fully transitioned into what researchers call fat oxidation mode. Studies consistently show that fat burning peaks during moderate intensity exercise at around 45 to 65% of your maximum aerobic capacity, which for most people is precisely a brisk walk where you feel slightly breathless but can still hold a conversation. At this stage, somewhere between 50 and 60% of the energy your body is using is coming directly from your own stored fat. You are literally running on your own stored fat at this point. But the story gets even more interesting at this stage because something is happening beyond simple fat burning that most fitness content never mentions. Your fat cells are becoming more sensitive to future signals. Every single walk you take is training your fat cells to respond faster and more efficiently the next time. You're increasing the number and effectiveness of the enzymes involved in lipolysis. You're improving blood flow pathways to fat tissue. You're even influencing the actual gene expression inside those cells, switching on genes that make fat metabolism more flexible and efficient over time. Research published in the journal Biomolecules confirmed that regular moderate-intensity exercise increases the expression of specific proteins involved in fat transport and oxidation. Your body is literally rewriting its own instructions in response to your walks. Then there's irisin, sometimes called the exercise hormone, and understanding what it does will completely change how you think about the long-term effects of walking. Irisin is a molecule secreted by your muscles during physical activity, and it travels through your bloodstream to your fat tissue, where it does something scientists once considered remarkable. It encourages white fat cells, the ordinary storage fat that accumulates around your belly, hips, and thighs, to begin behaving like brown fat cells. Brown fat is a special type of fat that burns energy to produce heat rather than storing it. This conversion process is called browning, and it means that consistent walking doesn't just burn fat during the walk, it gradually changes the character of your fat tissue itself, making it more metabolically active even when you're sitting still, sleeping, or resting on the couch. When you finally finish your walk and return home, the process doesn't stop. Your body continues burning fat at an elevated rate for hours afterward, a phenomenon known as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC, sometimes called the afterburn effect. Your muscles are busy restocking their glycogen supply, and your fat cells continue mobilizing fatty acids to power that recovery process. Lipolysis remains elevated for up to 24 hours after a single bout of moderate exercise, as multiple studies have demonstrated. This means that a 30-minute walk in the morning is quietly influencing your metabolism throughout the rest of your day, at your desk, during lunch, even while you sleep. The benefits don't pause when your shoes come off. The long-term transformation is where the real power compounds. When you walk consistently, day after day, your fat cells undergo deep structural and behavioral adaptations. They become less resistant